blockchain, wasn't just about the code itself, but actually about programming human behavior.
Right, which is a wild concept.
Yeah, because we usually think about scaling a network by tweaking the machine, right? Like increasing block sizes or optimizing layer 2 rollups or speeding up the consensus algorithm.
So it's adding more horsepower.
Exactly. But what if the ultimate bottleneck isn't the hardware or even the software? What if the real friction is, well, us, the erratic, totally unpredictable way we actually use the network?
It completely flips the whole engineering paradigm. I mean, you stop asking, how do we build a pipe that can handle 1 million random transactions a second?
Right.
And you start asking, how do we mathematically force those transactions to be perfectly dense, perfectly timed, and, highly predictable before they even hit the pipe?
And that friction, that human element, is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're jumping into a deep dive on the 3-key finance protocol.
It's a fascinating one.
It really is. We've got a great stack of sources in front of us. We're looking at their technical specifications, the overarching white papers, and actually some live interface logs from the protocol itself.
Yeah, running natively on the BNB Smart Chain.
Right. And we're also looking at this alongside standard non-custodial wallet integration guides, just to see how you, the listener, would actually experience this on the ground.
Because the user experience is where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. So the mission today is to basically pull apart the mechanics of a deterministic reward pipeline. We want to see how a smart contract can completely orchestrate human participation and capital flow without relying on a single centralized counterparty or middleman.
Which is the holy grail of DeFi, really.
Yeah. And to help me navigate this, I am thrilled to be joined by the founder and lead protocol dev of 3-key Finance, bringing some really deep expertise in EVM bytecode manipulation and recursive zero-knowledge proofs.
Thanks for having me.
There's literally no one better equipped to walk us through the actual mechanics of this architecture. So thanks for jumping into the deep dive today.
Glad to be here. I mean, I spend a lot of my time down in the trenches of state transition models and smart contract architecture. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's just great to zoom out and look at the actual philosophy driving these mechanisms.
Let's actually start right there at that zoomed out level. Because before we get into the nuts and bolts of what the 3-key vault actually does, we need to understand the causal connection.
The why.
Right. Why build this at all? The white paper introduces this thing called the 3-key acceleration protocol. What specific problem in the broader Web3 landscape is this trying to solve?
Well, it really comes down to systemic inefficiencies in how blockchains currently process demand. Right now, on almost any major EVM chain,
like Ethereum or Polygon?
Exactly. Ethereum, Polygon, BNB Smart Chain, you have these massive issues with idle block space and batching inefficiency.
Okay.
The network infrastructure is just sitting there burning energy, waiting to process transactions.
Because user activity is completely random, right? Like someone swaps a token on a Tuesday afternoon and then someone else mints an NFT at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. And that sporadic participation degrades the actual performance of the network. I mean, you can't engineer the fastest base layer blockchain in the world.
Like the 3-second block times on BNB Smart Chain.
Right, but if the interactions are disjointed, it is still incredibly inefficient. So what the 3-key acceleration protocol does is introduce a behavioral throughput multiplier.
A behavioral throughput multiplier.
Yeah. We are attempting to artificially densify network activity using economic incentives.
Okay, let me see if I can translate this into a physical analogy, because densifying network activity is a little abstract.
Go for it.
Standard blockchains scaling like increasing block sizes feels like trying to build wider and wider highways to solve a traffic problem.
Right, just adding lanes.
Yeah. But no matter how many lanes you add, if everyone is driving alone in their car, leaving for work at completely random times, you still get massive traffic jams at rush hour and totally empty lanes at midnight.
That captures the structural flaw perfectly. Expanding capacity just doesn't solve inefficient usage.
So 3-key's approach isn't about pouring more concrete to build a wider highway. It's like designing a perfectly synchronized, mathematically enforced carpool system.
Yes.
You are taking the exact same highway, but ensuring that every single car that enters the on-ramp is completely full. And they're entering this heavily orchestrated sequence, so the infrastructure is used at absolute maximum efficiency.
That is the exact mechanism at play. You densify the traffic. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the most crucial architectural choice here is that this mechanism operates entirely independently of the base layer consensus logic. It is a modular overlay.
Oh, meaning you didn't have to build a brand new blockchain to make this work. You just like drop it on top of an existing one.
Exactly. Because it's an overlay participation layer, it can be plugged into any EVM-compatible environment. It doesn't modify the core rules of the BNB Smart Chain.
It just heavily optimizes the behavior of the users interacting on that chain.
Right. And this is where manipulating EVM bytecode comes in. We optimize the raw instructions the blockchain reads so that these clustered, dense batches of human activity are processed with minimal gas overhead.
Okay, so if the theory is that we need to force people to carpool, so to speak, to make the network hyper-efficient.
Let's stick with the analogy, yeah.
How do you actually enforce that?
Yeah.
So this brings us to the practical application. How do you, the user, actually step into this deterministic pipeline?
Right.
Because the sources lay out a very specific establishment protocol built around a three-step vault mechanism.
Yeah, and the architecture there is intentionally rigid. It operates on a strict state transition model.
Meaning it's not just a free-for-all.
No, not at all. It is not an open-ended DeFi protocol where you just, pool liquidity and hope for yield. It is a closed-loop sequence.
Okay, let's walk through that sequence. The sources say step 1 is Initialize Vault. You connect your wallet and deposit a minimum of 20 USDT into the secure 3-key liquidity layer.
Right, on chain ID 56, the BNB Smart Chain.
Okay. Then step 2 is secure 2 operatives. You use a unique cryptographic link to recruit exactly 2 additional participants.
And those 2 operatives must match or exceed your initial deposit volume. That's critical.
Okay, match or exceed. Then step 3 is extraction and rewards. You recover a 2x USDT payout minus a 5% protocol fee, plus a bonus of 3 key Y governance tokens.
Deposit, secure 2 operatives, extract rewards. That is the entire operational flow.
Okay, let's unpack this because I need to push back on this right away.
Yeah.
You're saying I put in 20 USDT, my 2 friends each put in 20 USDT, and I suddenly get 40 USDT back.
Yep, minus the protocol fee.
I mean, that sounds almost exactly like magic or a pyramid scheme. How does the code prevent this from just collapsing when new users inevitably stop joining?
It's a fair question.
Like, where is this magical 2x payout actually coming from if there isn't a central bank or reserve subsidizing it?
It is the most common and, frankly, the most necessary critical reaction to this structure. Let's strip away the magic because, well, there isn't any.
Okay.
The payout is entirely funded by the localized demand burst generated by those 2 operatives. It is a closed-loop microeconomy.
Break that down for me. Explain the localized demand burst math.
Think of the deterministic state transition model like a digital vending machine. A vending machine doesn't care about the global economy, right?
Right.
It only cares about the specific coins inserted into its specific slot. It operates on hard conditionality. State A cannot transition to state B until condition X is met.
Okay, let's use physical buckets. Imagine 3 buckets. I put my $20 into the top bucket. That's my vault initializing.
Yes, and at that exact moment, the smart contract updates its state to recognize your vault exists, but it is locked. The math is not whole yet.
Then operative 1 puts $20 into their bucket, and operative 2 puts $20 into theirs. So now there is $60 total sitting in this specific pod.
And this is the trigger. The exact mathematical parameters required for your specific vault have been met.
Okay.
The smart contract, without any human input, reads that state change. It takes $40 from that closed $60 pod.
Meaning my initial 20 plus 20 from the operative's liquidity.
Exactly. It unlocks it for your extraction. The remaining capital secures the baseline for the operative's new vaults alongside the 5% protocol fee. The math balances perfectly within that isolated pod.
So if I initialize a vault, but I never find 2 operatives to join my pod, what happens? Does the whole system collapse? Who do I call for a refund?
No one. And that is the defining feature of the architecture. If you don't secure the operatives, your vault simply remains in a pending state indefinitely.
It just pauses.
Right. The system as a whole doesn't collapse because it isn't relying on a massive global pool of incoming capital to pay off old debt. It is relying on localized, self-contained pods.
Okay, that makes sense.
If a pod doesn't complete, it just sits there. The broader network is completely unaffected.
It's just cause and effect written in immutable code, which actually brings up a really crucial point about control.
Yeah.
If the math is isolated to my specific pod and there's no customer service line to call if I get stuck, who is actually facilitating these trades?
Nobody.
Because usually in finance, Even in a lot of centralized crypto exchanges, someone has their hand on the off switch. A CEO, board of directors, an admin with special access keys.
This is where we get into the concept of zero counterparty risk. The white paper states it very aggressively. Don't trust the team, trust the code.
I saw that line in the sources. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the entire protocol operates fully on-chain. The smart contract address is public 0x47 D5, followed by the rest of the hex string.
Right, it's totally transparent.
Right.
And an immutable smart contract means that once the bytecode is compiled and deployed to the BNB Smart Chain, it cannot be altered, paused, or shut down.
And not even by you.
Not by me as the developer, not by a corporation, and not by a government. The rules of that three-step vault are permanently etched into the ledger. There is no admin key that allows me to go in and drain the liquidity or change the payout ratio.
Which fundamentally changes the relationship you, the listener, have with your own money.
Absolutely.
We looked at the MetaMask integration guides in the sources. Since you aren't handing your funds over to some 3-key Finance Inc. to hold in a corporate bank account, you are using your own non-custodial wallet to interact directly with the contract.
You hold the keys.
Right. There are no usernames, no passwords, no identity verification blocking your withdrawal. It is just you, your private keys, and the blockchain.
Let's actually look at the live logs from the protocol interface that we brought in.
Oh yeah, let's pull those up.
Because when you trace the EVM events happening behind the scenes, you can actually see this zero counterparty environment functioning in real time. It is a completely autonomous machine.
Walk us through what we are seeing in these logs. It basically just looks like a stream of matrix code with timestamps and hex data.
It kind of is. This is the heartbeat of the network. When you interact with the contract via your wallet, it triggers a specific sequence of events on the EVM. First, you see deposit made.
Okay.
This event fires the exact millisecond your USDT hits the contract. That is the trigger that automatically creates your vault structure on-chain.
So there's literally no human reviewing an application and clicking an approve button. The code just reacts.
No human intervention whatsoever.
Yeah.
Then, as you recruit your network, you see the referral added event fire.
I see that one here.
This is where the contract cryptographically maps the operatives to your vault. It establishes the chronological integrity of the pod. And finally, the exact moment the second operative's transaction confirms on the blockchain, the vault unlocked event fires.
Oh, I'm looking at one of the log right here. It says 11.05.24 event. Vault unlocked, wallet, 0x at DSME, status, ready to claim.
Yep. The state transition is complete, the vault is unlocked, you initiate the extraction, and the reward claimed event executes, pushing the USDT directly back to your wallet.
Wow.
The entire pipeline, from the initial deposit to the final extraction, is a deterministic mathematical certainty.
Okay, so we've tracked the USDT through the system. I put in 20, my pod completes, I pull out my 2x minus the fee. But step 3 of the vault mechanism mentioned a secondary asset.
Yes, the governance tokens.
Right. It said you extract your USDT plus 3-key EY governance rewards.
That's the native utility token of the protocol. It's a BEP20 token integrated directly into the reward pipeline.
I was looking at the tokenomics in the white paper, and the supply distribution is very specific.
It is, yeah.
It says 60% of the total token supply is allocated directly to vault rewards, 20% goes to liquidity reserves, 10% is set aside for a 12-month vested development fund, and 10% for marketing.
Standard, transparent allocation.
Right. But I understand the USDT payout. That's just moving the localized demand around. But why introduce a completely separate token into a system that already pays out stable coins?
Well,
So what does this all mean for the listener? Why should the average user care about this 3-key EY bonus?
what's fascinating here is you have to look at the psychological friction we discussed at the very beginning. We are trying to program human behavior to optimize network throughput.
Right, the whole carpool analogy.
Exactly. The USDT reward handles the immediate, localized incentive. It makes the pod function. But the 3-key EY token handles the macro momentum of the entire network. It solves the cold start problem.
Wait, how does a token solve a cold start problem? I'm missing the connection there.
The tokens are minted and distributed as an algorithmic bonus during the claim process.
Okay.
Every time you successfully complete a vault cycle and claim your USDT, the smart contract simultaneously calculates and distributes a fixed amount of 3-key EY tokens to your wallet. But remember that supply distribution you just read off.
The 60% allocated to vault rewards.
Yes. It is a finite pool. Because it is finite, it creates a mathematical compression curve. The users who initialize vaults and secure their operatives early in the protocol's lifecycle are capturing the highest possible distribution rate of that token.
Ah, I see. Because there's simply more tokens available in the pool to hand out on day one compared to, like, day 100.
Exactly. As time goes on and thousands of vaults are successfully cycled, that 60% pool drains. The smart contract automatically compresses the relative distribution rate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if you get 10 tokens for a completion today, you might only get 2 tokens for a completion 6 months from now.
Which creates a massive sense of urgency.
Precisely.
It incentivizes you not just to participate, but to participate right now and to pressure your operatives to complete their deposits as fast as humanly possible so you can claim your vault before the token rate drops again.
You're hitting on the core game theory. It creates a self-reinforcing cycle of activity, speed, and network resilience. The token isn't just a shiny bonus, it is the psychological mechanism that drives the behavioral throughput multiplier.
It forces the carpool to synchronize faster.
Exactly.
But wait, if this whole behavioral multiplier relies on the urgency of an evaporating token pool,
Yeah.
what happens when the 60% runs out? Does the whole urgency engine just freeze?
It doesn't freeze, it matures. The compression curve is designed to heavily incentivize the bootstrap phase of the network. By the time that 60% pool is fully depleted, the protocol will have theoretically achieved massive, sustained network density.
Okay, so it graduates to a new phase.
Right. At that point, the 3-key EY token transitions from an inflationary reward mechanism into a pure governance and utility asset, heavily integrated into those liquidity reserves we mentioned. The urgency shifts from capture the emissions to leverage the established liquidity.
It aligns your immediate financial incentives with the network's long-term need for dense, synchronized activity. It is a really aggressive piece of behavioral engineering.
It really is. It transforms you from a passive liquidity provider into an active, highly motivated agent of network efficiency.
And earlier you mentioned recursive zero-knowledge proofs. Where do those fit into all this?
Right. We use ZK proofs behind the scenes to bundle all of this frantic, dense human activity. When thousands of people are initializing vaults, recruiting operatives, and claiming rewards simultaneously.
Which is a goal, right? Massive throughput.
Exactly. ZK proofs allow us to cryptographically verify all of those complex behavioral sequences and batches and submit a single tiny proof to the main BNB chain. It keeps the gas fees incredibly low while supporting that massive density.
Which brings us full circle back to the code supporting the human behavior. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started by looking at the systemic bottlenecks of blockchain networks, the idle block space and the empty lanes on the highway. We saw how the 3-key acceleration protocol attempts to solve this by basically treating human participation as a programmable variable.
Right. And we unpacked the 3-step vault mechanism: initialize, secure 2 operatives, and extract. And we saw how a strict state transition model manages localized demand bursts, ensuring the math balances perfectly within isolated pods without relying on a global pool of debt.
And crucially, we explored zero counterparty risk, the reliance on immutable, publicly verifiable smart contracts, and non-custodial Web3 wallets. The code is law, and there's no middleman with an off switch.
Within it all.
Finally, we dug into the game theory of the 3-key EY token and how an evaporating reward pool mathematically forces the urgency needed to sustain the network's momentum. It is a wildly intricate ecosystem.
The intricacies are what make it robust, and I think this exploration leaves us with a much larger question, something I constantly weigh when building these deterministic architectures.
Oh, what's that?
If we can use immutable smart contracts to perfectly autonomously orchestrate complex human coordination and capital flow without any central authority, as we see with this Vault pipeline, what other massive societal bottlenecks could we dismantle? Outside of decentralized finance, what other critical industries are currently bogged down by inefficient, rent-seeking middlemen that could simply be replaced by a transparent, unalterable pipeline of code?
That is a fascinating thought. If we can program human behavior to clear a digital traffic jam, maybe we can program it to clear up physical supply chains or voting systems or even data ownership.
The sky's the limit.
The implications go way beyond just trading tokens in a decentralized vault. To you, our listener, thank you for joining us on this journey today. We started by asking if network efficiency was about the machine or the human, and I think we've discovered that when you perfectly align the two through immutable code, the results are incredibly disruptive.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Until next time, keep questioning the systems you interact with, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.